the episode we've been waiting for, Max, of the new Celtics documentary on HBO. So we got to break that one down in this episode, episode 4, Great Hope Period. So, of course, Celtics fans out there know what that means. The arrival of Larry Bird, going into a number of championships that they got into 81, still hasn't gone too deep into it, but episode 5 should be just as good. But man, we got to talk about all the things that we saw throughout this one, man. From you getting into the stands, against Philadelphia 76ers out in Philly, 81, the comeback you guys had in that series, man. We got to get into that as well. But it's funny, man, watching it. I'm like, man, if you been subscribed to the Cedric Maxwell podcast, man, you know a lot about these stories. But seeing it on HBO, knowing that the rest of the NBA world's watching it, was pretty damn cool to see my podcast co-host up there telling some classic stories for everyone. My good friend Cedric Maxwell. So Max, take me through what that process was like, man. I know it was a series of interviews, but just with those stories, how did that come together?
That just set me down for about it was a couple of hours, and just asked me questions about what I thought, what happened, the Celtics, and all this other stuff. And I was just saying all the things that, I've always said. And then you hear that all of a sudden you hear people talking about, well, this is what you said. Well, you and I already talked about it when Larry Bird was around and what happened during that situation. Larry walks into the practice. He confirmed what I said because I was sitting on the podium. They have a kind of a rise or a stage where you could do like a play or something like that in this gym at Hellenic College. And I was sitting there holding court, talking to my boys, and Larry walks in, and I'm like, Great White Hope. Here we go. Yeah,
I love that. It sounds like almost when the first day of practice at a high school gym or something like that, which is, I'm not too far off from the way they described that gym. That's what it was like. Who's around you? I'm guessing there's a bunch of brothers.
Yeah. Let me see. I think Curtis Rowe. No, Curtis Rowe. Yeah, Curtis Rowe is still there. I think Gerald had come to the team. Nate Archibald. There's a bunch of us who were there already, who were from the former regime, and we're waiting for the arrival of Larry Joe Bird to walk into the arena, and it was on and popping from then on. That first day, it started, and we were going against each other, and then Bill Fitch decided he was going to put us on the same team, and that's where the magic started. Here was a great passer. He was a great scorer, I was, and we just kind of hit it off. I remember the thing that Bill Fitch looked at me and said, he stopped me in the middle of practice and brought me up and said, you seem like a pretty intelligent guy. Do you know who's going to be guarding for the best forward every night? It's like, man, I'm a lover. I'm not a fighter. So I wasn't no defender at all. I wasn't thinking that way of stopping nobody or containing them. But he sure said, look, this is what your task is going to be. So forget about your 20 points a game. Forget about your 10 rebounds a game. We're going to harness that around Larry Bird. And Larry's going to be the focal point. And I went kicking and screaming at first. Like, what the fuck do you mean? I'm that dude right now. I'm him. Right. I'm that dude. And turned around and I prophesized what happened is, I became the Finals MVP, but Larry Bird was that dude. He was that guy. Right. And once he came in, we went from winning, 28 games to 60 games that year. One of the best records in the league. And it was magical. It was just magical the way everything happened, and playing with such bravado. We just really went at them.
Yeah, it cracked me up when you were like, man, I've seen the ballers out in New York. I've seen, best players in the college level. Like, this dude is different, man. I thought that one was cool. But the part that stood out was one, obviously the fight in Philly. I feel like you gave us some more context in that one, that story. So I'm gonna let you grab the floor on that in a second. But then the other part was the fact that you won Finals MVP, man. I wanted them to spend a few minutes on that, and sort of just talk about that, because like you just said, it's not easy for any player to make that kind of sacrifice, but also make that turnaround so quickly as you guys did and win the championship in '81.
Well, to rise up like that, we had one of the greatest series of all time against Philly in 1981, and then again 1982. Celtics down 3-1, and we come back and beat Philly in '81. And even the great Maurice Cheeks, who played for the 76ers, still would tell you that to this day that he had the better team. But the better team didn't win, and we won. And when we played, we both knew that whoever won that particular series was probably destined to win the championship. So we started out, and once we played that series, we played the Houston Rockets. And we just thought it was a matter of time. And we got there, and no, Houston was stubborn. They weren't going down easy. They had Moses Malone, Bobby Joe Reed, who was he was more like Michael Cooper. Great defender, long, anticipated, played Larry really well. And Larry didn't shoot it well during that particular series. So somebody had to take up that reign of scoring the ball when Larry wasn't able to do that. And it happened to be me. My matchup was a favorable one. They had this guy, Billy Pulse, on me. Well, Billy Pulse was like 6'11", and maybe about 265, 270. And here I was at 6'8", 205, quick as a cat. was going by Billy Pulse like he was standing still. And Billy Pulse, his nickname, his nickname was the Whopper. That's what they call him, the Whopper, like the sandwich from Burger King. And
great sandwich.
So for me, it was pretty. And then they just started changing up. They were trying to find ways to stop me. And they went with Billy Pulse. They went with somebody. Then they tried, and then finally at the end they tried Moses Malone. And Moses saw me that day, and at first said, I'm gonna kick your skinny ass. I was like, okay, whatever. And I hit the first shot, and he said, lucky shot. Next shot I hit, good shot. Third shot, fourth shot, fifth shot. And by the time they ended the series, and he was like, whoo. He told, we had Jared Solinger, who was with the Celtics. And young players don't know much about you. But Solinger talked a lot of noise. Like, man, you ain't nothing, man. You want all that. You want all that. And so that summer, he went home, and he went to Moses Malone camp. And I think it was John Lucas, another player, was on that team. And he asked Moses, Solinger asked Moses, said, what about cornbread? And Mo, with the way he always talked, pulled his mouthpiece out. He said, motherfucker, bad motherfucker, bad. He bad motherfucker. We couldn't stop him. And even Calvin Murphy, who's there now on that team, would tell you, he said he never won an NBA championship. He'll see me in Houston right now and said, they're going to do right now that won. He told his kids, his grandkids, that's the dude right now that won my damn championship. I was supposed to have that ring, but we couldn't stop him. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool when you think about who you were and what you did. And, you put me in a back seat when you were Bill Fitch, but I was able to emerge into a front seat because of my ability to get to the moment, score the ball. And I think that year I led the league in field goal percentage. I'm shooting over 60%. I was the first forward in the history of the NBA to do that. So that was one of those things I was doing the same thing I've been doing all year, scoring, and scoring easily. So they never found a way to contain me.